Until the 1900s, Russia was an empire ruled by a czar, or king. All czars came from the same family, the Romanovs, and they had ruled for 300 years. The czars created a society in which the rich landowners lived a life of luxury, while the workers and peasants struggled to survive. But at the turn of the 20th century, the people began to cause problems for the czar. Why did the people cause problems for the czar? Through the years, the Russian Empire had expanded to control a huge area of Europe and Asia. Because it was so large, the empire was now home to people of many different ethnicities, religions, educations, and wealth. All these people want different things. Some want land, some want more freedom, some want government reforms. These demands soon become a threat to the rule of the czars. Sometimes the czars give the people what they ask for, like giving local assemblies control over schools and roads. But more often than not, the czars oppress the people. An example of this oppression is Tsar Alexander III's program of Russification, launched in the 1880s. What is Russification? The Tsar insists that everyone speak one language, Russian, and have one religion, the Russian Orthodox Church. It is official religious and ethnic persecution aimed at building a common national identity. The Jewish populations in Poland and the Ukraine are particularly singled out and often attacked. Many Russian Jews become refugees and flee the country for Europe and the US. Most Russians at the time are serfs, laborers bound to the land and to the masters who control them. The masters, who are mostly rich landowners and nobles, make up only a small part of the population. It has been this way for centuries, but beginning in the mid-1800s, many enlightened Russians know that serfdom is bad for the country and want to get rid of it. What is the main obstacle to change in Tsarist Russia? The Tsar's rigid social structure stands in the way of progress. The Tsars believe that if they change the way Russian society works, it will undermine their absolute rule. So as much as possible, they try to keep everything the way it is. The rich stay rich and the poor stay poor. And the empire falls further behind its rapidly modernizing neighbors. It soon becomes clear that Russia is a backward empire that needs to industrialize in order to survive. Pressure from students and liberals forces Tsar Alexander II to set the serfs free in 1861. Many peasants move to the cities, taking jobs in factories and industry. But instead of finding a better life, they find overcrowding, poverty, and disease. More reforms are called for. During the Russo-Japanese War of 1904, the Russians suffered defeat after defeat. Although supportive at first, the people lose morale and blame the Tsar for the losses. Protesters flood the streets, workers go on strike, and liberals call for a constitution to overhaul the corrupt, ineffective government of the Tsar. On January 22, 1905, a group of people loyal to the Tsar marched through the streets of St. Petersburg towards the Winter Palace. Fearing the marchers, Nicholas II calls in troops. The troops open fire on the crowd, killing hundreds. Known as Bloody Sunday, this event starts the revolution of 1905. In the months that follow, riots spread across the country. In some cities, workers take over the local government. Peasants revolt and demand land. Minority nationalities call for self-rule from Russia. At last, Nicholas II is forced to announce sweeping reforms. He also agrees to the establishment of a Duma, an elected national legislature. In his October manifesto, the Tsar promises freedom of person, conscience, speech, assembly, and union. These reforms win over the moderates and restore order to the empire, but the Tsar remains in control. After the Duma meets for the first time and criticizes the Tsar, he dissolves it and appoints a conservative prime minister who will do what he wants. Although some reforms follow, those who had been in power before the revolution remain in power, the Tsars. But it will only be a matter of time until the revolutionaries in the factories and cities rise up again.